All right, welcome back to the School of Recovery podcast. As you know, School of Addiction Recovery is a program also known as SOAR, and it's quite an amazing program actually. So it's a nonprofit, and it's and downstairs we have an entire gym that we'll have individuals work out in, and then afterwards they'll go process the sessions. And so it's a full program, intensive outpatient. People can come. It's a 90-day program, and it's actually quite affordable, and it's probably the best IOP out there. I'd stand by that. So when you have someone coming in as an addict, oftentimes they're in such bad we are oftentimes in such bad physical health, and SOAR really does a great job of physically, intellectually, emotionally, socially, and spiritually helping you out. PIES, PIESS, and so it's pretty amazing. So we might get more into that, but a lot of people watching already know. But School of Addiction Recovery, and today as our guest we have Jordan Birmingham. So Jordan Birmingham from Diamond Tree Ranch Recovery. So he'll talk a little bit about our program, and he does a lot of work in the microbiome area when it comes to recovery. And so I'd kind of like to get into that. Maybe let's kick off on that topic. Tell me a little bit about the microbiome, and then we'll go into your story, and then we'll also go into your program and everything. It's quite amazing. In fact, maybe I'll give a little bit more of an introduction while we're at it. So Jordan actually was a client in the program that he is currently the CEO of, or the executive director, however you want to look at it. And he was a patient in the program, and he remembers in one of the rooms that he now has some of his clients in, he remembered cheeking Suboxone, getting in trouble. And then ultimately, after he changed his life around, got sober several years later, he basically had an opportunity to essentially get that house and operate it and turn it into a treatment center. That he's like, I don't know how to run a treatment center. I was actually a client in this house before. So we'll get into that too. But tell me about the microbiome, Jordan. Like, tell me about that, because that's an interesting area a lot of people don't touch on.
Put me on blast. Talk about cheeking and sharing and
hey, sorry, man.
Rules in the
yeah,
treatment
exactly.
center already, huh?
Exactly.
Man, I wanted to talk about PIES too. That's a cool little acronym you got there. Physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual.
So it's PIESS. So physical, intellectual, emotional, social, sexual, and spiritual. So theoretically, you want to have health in all areas, right?
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Okay, sorry. Get back to my microbiome. Thank you for having me on. It's fun. I've been looking forward to it, watching a few of these, and
yeah. In fact, we promised you guys this about a year and a half, 2 years ago. We promised to have Jordan on, and so we've been glad to have him on. Yeah,
I've been ready and eager and excited, and I'm glad to be here. So, really good guys here. They got a good program going. I love the fitness and nutrition aspect. Me and Dustin talked about that years ago, and been wanting to do some more work together. And we both believe that eat right, sleep right, exercise is a foundation to health and recovery.
Amen.
So Diamond Tree really focuses on those aspects. We do a lot of other things, and we're getting into the deep scientific things, but deep dive into nutrition, you find that the microbiome, your gut, is not just this place where food sits and turns into poop.
Right.
A lot of people are like, that's what your gut does,
right?
But it's so much more. It really is the second brain, or in some scientific journals, the first brain. It's the first one that's created. And so really we have this area that if we have the right environment of healthy biotica, of healthy enzymes, things like that, it produces more serotonin, more GABA, more of these neurotransmitters that make us feel good. And there's actually the vagal nerve and some other connections between the brain and the gut. It's called the brain-gut axis. And so that if you don't have a healthy gut, you're not going to have a healthy brain, and you're not going to have healthy mental health. And it's very, very directly correlated.
Wow.
So, I truly believe the future of mental health will be the microbiome and mindfulness being at the center of it. Eat right, sleep right, exercise all plays into that. But the microbiome. So, for example, one way to describe this. So, yeast, right? We can have a yeast buildup, and that's fed by sugar. And so if you eat a bunch of sugar,
which, hey, when we're in our addiction, we love sugar.
most of us love
Oh yeah,
sugar,
Sour Patch
right?
Kids, the
You
whole
see
thing.
a little release in the brain,
Yep.
you know, early on. You can
especially
see
in withdrawals. You know, when you do start eating, that's what the first thing you want to eat usually.
Yeah. So you get cravings for sugars because you have such a yeast overgrowth in your gut. And so it literally sends cravings. And so the cravings coming as a signal, the brain gets confused sometimes. So if you have a low blood sugar, you get a craving. If you have a yeast overgrowth, you have a craving. These cravings, sometimes your brain's just like, give me something now. Give me a fix. Let me pick myself up right now.
Right.
And it sometimes doesn't always pick up sugar. It picks up something else, you know, and that's a big deal. But point being is, if we can get about 7 to 14 days of whole food, plant-based nutrition, the fiber of plants is what feeds the healthy microbiotica. And so once those start to grow and multiply, you know, there's billions, you know, of those guys in there. So once they take over and have the majority, then they start sending the signals, wanting more fiber, wanting more healthy food. So if anybody's been on a healthy kick for a little while, all of a sudden, you know, those vegetables and salads and different things start to sound good. You're like, feels good, sounds good. It's got, you know, it's got the vibrancy, the color. You know, that's what we're attracted to naturally, is those vibrant, bright colors, and that's why all these processed food companies imitate it and trick our brains to say, like, look at these fruity pebbles and these
fruit roll-ups,
gushers, bright colors. You know, it's because that's innately what we're attracted to, and so super important that we build the gut to be the right way to get the right cravings, and then it produces the right neurotransmitters to feel good.
Right.
So depression, everything else really is dependent on that. So I can go off on this for so long. Listen, cut me off if you want.
No, listen, this is good because I'm, you know, whenever, I mean, especially going back a couple of years, whenever I'd like to bring things, I'd always like to bring the technical aspect to it. And so what I'm hearing, because, you know, a lot of people listen to this, we have people that have been here sober, you know, for decades that will listen to this. And also we have some people that are still struggling right now. So, I mean, it sounds like some of these things that you're talking about, people can even start without a program. I mean, somebody struggling in addiction right now, or that's in recovery and maybe they're feeling a bit depressed. Maybe they need to see their psychiatrist to get on a different antidepressant or something like that. But literally just by what you do in the kitchen, you're saying can change how you feel.
Yeah.
Which is why we use, right? We use to change how we feel. Right.
Absolutely. So one of the biggest ones to really, I love telling this part because, you know, doctors, nurses, just everyone, I believe should know this. And a lot of, you know, medical schools and stuff don't teach a lot of the microbiome stuff and very little nutrition. And so here's the idea. So I'm glad you said antidepressants, right? We're you know, we're pro MAT, you know, we believe.
So for those that don't know, that's medication assisted treatment.
Right. And so
Suboxone,
we're not
methadone.
anti. Our program is very holistic, natural, and healing. However, with our doctors, MDs, DOs, naturopaths, etc., I tell them just explore and discuss alternatives. So if someone's using medications and they're not having success, you know, explore and discuss alternatives like natural stuff. But if someone's doing natural stuff and it's not working, explore and discuss alternatives, which could be medications, right? So that's a basis that I make sure people know that we're not like anti-drugs. However, anti-medication. However, if someone is taking antidepressants and they're not eating right, they're not eating certain amino acids that like build, you know, like tryptophan that builds serotonin, you're not going to have that buildup of serotonin to be able to produce feel-good neurochemicals. Whether you have an SSRI antidepressant or not, you don't have anything there to recycle in there, which is what that drug does. So, you know, good stuff to have for sure. So that microbiome is a big part of how that is broken down. Those food, you know, particles are broken down, built into amino acid and protein chains, right? So super, super important. Hawkman, I know I shouldn't say anything while we're on here, probably walking through, but I love you. God, smile.
What's going on, brother?
I felt like I wanted to come on.
Yeah,
come on in.
Absolutely, man.
Come on in.
He was just digging into the microbiome, getting really technical with it.
I heard it. So what's up?
What's up, man? Dude, your smile is so contagious, isn't it? It's so fun to have you around.
Dude, I know. How's it going over there?
Dude, it's so good. So good. We we're busting at seams. Every level of care is full and
really
loving it. If we could just continue this path, we'll be great, man.
So what else have you I remember last time I talked to you, you were adding something in that other area. Was it did you end up adding IOP?
Yeah, we have all levels of care. So we got the
wow.
detox,
They got detox, too.
PHP,
Oh, you got
day
detox.
treatment,
Wow.
IOP. Yeah, the detox is awesome. We're loving that, and so needed. You know what I mean? There's only like one from North Salt Lake to Logan right now, other than us.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy, and we need them.
I didn't know that. For sure, start sending. So where are you detoxing them at?
So just Kaysville Clinic is right there on Main Street in
Right.
Kaysville. We're just in the basement. We actually added 2 rooms and a bathroom upstairs as well. But just right there in Kaysville, just
Wow.
a mile away. We got our sober living there too, in
Right.
Kaysville. So it's
you
all
did do a
just,
sober living.
yeah.
So where's that at?
so it's right on it's like Midtown Kaysville.
They're all like just right in the same area as
Yeah.
the residential.
Dude.
You get a
Good.
relapse in a
Growing.
sober living. It's like, dude, walk 2 blocks to the detox.
Exactly.
Okay,
Wow.
you can't be
Wow.
there. But
Listen
no,
to the
it's great.
detox price. I mean, I don't know how much of that you want to share, but I do know that you do have for treatment providers. If there's someone in a bad way, if they can come up with a certain amount, and I'll let you share that, then it's like,
Yeah.
hey, we'll deal with the rest later. But if you can
Yeah.
come up with this, we'll get you in.
Yep. So basically, especially if it's a treatment provider that we're really just trying to help someone out. They're in a bad spot. They're cold.
Right.
If we have a bed, like $250 will get you in, and we'll be able to determine, okay, do you have insurance? What do you want to do? What are your goals? Do you want long-term treatment? Do you want to just stabilize? Do you want to detox? Suboxone, whatever. It's like,
Yeah. Oh, man.
people need to know they have options to get well and stabilize and get out of the cold. And we'll work with you, man. I'll defer payments and whatever we got to do to get people well. So
Yeah. Wow. That's dope. So what so I don't even know if I should bring this up on here. So what's the other treatment center there now? Is it ended up moving into Kaysville where Cold Creek was? Is Cold Creek not there anymore?
So in the barn,
Yeah.
I assume I actually thought that last night. I was like, wonder who's doing that, because I've been wanting to expand our PHP program. But
So is there a treatment center
is
in
it
there?
Turning Point now?
I don't know. I heard it was Turning Point.
Because I
didn't
know they kind of merged.
There
into their thing.
was
So I assume that
there
somebody's
was
in that
a
barn.
financial transaction
I haven't-
between the parties. I
I
believe.
didn't know.
Can't be near as cool of a building without your war sign, right? I mean, it's not there, right?
No,
right?
that's not there.
That's not there.
No.
So, can I talk about that? Microbiome's cool. We can get back to that whenever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, what a cool name. I remember I thought about war about 5 years ago, and I was like, what a cool name.
Yeah.
I'm all about fitness and
Right.
bringing that in
Right.
as a component and all that. And all of a sudden I see this van with war. I'm like, someone
Yeah.
got the name first,
Right.
And I was like, and I got to know you. I'm like, what a cool guy. And then you did SOAR, and I'm like, war's available. But SOAR, I was like, wow, war was cool, but SOAR just has this like really uplifting, positive
Right.
message to it. You know what I mean? And it's education. And I mean, it's
I'm glad you
good
said
work, man.
Yeah, well, it was hard. It was hard kind of giving up war, because that was like my,
Very.
the baby or whatever.
Yeah.
But, and Don knows, I mean, it was a really hard thing to let go of. But if you look at my books and like everything was like School of Addiction, and I kind of just felt like, dude, God was saying, just, dude, let's see if you dare to just dump this and try a new brand, and try this whole and honestly, once I did it, like everything changed, and everything changed here when I got out of the way. Like, stop trying to control everything,
Yeah.
So once I took that job as a teacher, I'm out at Layton. Did you know that?
I saw
Yeah,
some.
yeah.
I follow
I'm just
you.
out at Layton High as a
You got a grant to build a
physical.
little.
Yeah. I got a little grant.
That's
Like
awesome.
got like 25K.
Yeah,
and
it's
so
fun
I'm
to play with.
Putting a little gym. I got it all in there. Putting a little gym.
The amount of lives you touch, man, is crazy. Like if you think back to,
Yeah.
and I know you're
I'm
a humble
insecure
guy,
now,
and
Don.
listen, and you, the both of you as well. But I'm just saying, like, I don't know how much you know about war, but essentially started with people sleeping on the gym in Dustin's gym. Like people didn't have a place to stay. He
Yeah, it
literally
was
had
really unsafe.
hey, listen, yeah, but this
People
is
help
back.
people,
This
though.
is
That's what we're
10
all
years
about.
ago. You know what I mean? And he just basically get him fit and then talk about it. You know what I mean? Like how are you guys feeling? And that's super uncomfortable, right? Like I mean,
Yeah.
just super uncomfortable changing, and then eventually turned into a program.
Can I share one of my favorite stories about hockey?
Yeah, of
Dude,
course.
one of my favorite live videos you did, man. was
good.
your M&M binge, bro. Like you had
Oh,
one
yeah.
day where you're like
Oh, right.
it was so real, man. It was so raw. You're just like, man, I'm so mad at myself. You know,
Oh,
like
dude.
I just can't control it.
Well,
I started with like one, and now the whole bag's gone, and now I'm eating cake. Like, what's going on? I'm like, I love it.
well, dude, that was the time I ended up getting an eating disorder.
Yeah.
So I did the
That's
keto.
when we were
I
in
did-
Cali, right?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
started there. So I did the keto.
Mm,
Remember when I was doing all those
Mhm,
videos with
mhm.
the keto, and then
it's got a little obsessive
I'm an
with it.
addict.
Mhm.
So like I can go, I'll point it into like I'll do it. I'm obsessed
Go
with the
hard.
keto.
Yeah.
But then like when I broke the keto, I didn't, and I was doing the intermittent fasting. And so when I broke the keto, like I didn't know how to eat carbs.
Hmm.
I had this weird relationship with carbs. But I was doing the intermittent fasting. Well, then I would binge. And then at night, the next day, I'd be like, I'm fasting until 6 the next day.
Yeah.
So I would fast till like see as long as I could go without eating, and then I would binge again. And then one time, because like when I used to drink, like I drink too much, you know,
Yeah.
if you drink too much, I'd just make myself throw up.
Yeah.
And then I felt better and go to sleep. Well, so I got that idea. I was like, dude, I feel so crappy after eating 17 cinnamon rolls. And I just went in the bathroom and I made
Or a box of 12 ice cream
Yeah,
Snicker bars.
I mean, let's bring everything.
That's for me. Yeah. See, now I thought it was kind of fun to talk about. Now I'm like, oh shoot, this is getting serious.
Yeah, no, dude.
No,
more
this is
sensitive
real. We
now.
get real on here.
I went in one time and made myself puke, and I got high.
The endorphins and the
I was like, dude.
Yeah.
And then guess what I did the next day?
Same
and the next
thing.
day. And the
Same
next
thing.
day.
Same
And
thing.
so it was probably like a 30 or 45 month and a half where I was legit eating disorder.
You were doing it that long, huh?
Mhm.
Dang.
It was right. It was right when after we got done with
With Cali in
when we
Mexico.
went-
Yeah.
we went. And so, dude, I don't know, getting my relationship back with food. And I know you guys, that's what I love about your treatment center is you guys are so like, you've linked all that up. I had a couple guys go through there. Obviously don't want to say their names, but they said it was like incredible because of the emphasis you guys place on food. And I like what you, because dude, I'm food, you know, I'm not leaning on pills anymore. I'm not leaning on alcohol anymore. I'm not leaning on it, but then
No weed. Yeah.
no weed, no nothing. But then I will lean on food.
Mhm.
And it's like the same thing. I have the same mentality. I'll be like, one more cinnamon roll, dude, I'll feel happier.
right.
Just one. Yeah.
One more, I'm going
just
to do one and then I'll eat that. I mean, I got into this routine one time. Anyway, I broke that habit, got better with food. But there was this another time when I was like sneaking away to go to Burger King at like 10 at night. And
Sneaking away is a key term there, right?
Well, yeah, like
Behavior.
because you know, I don't even know. What's the word?
Ashamed or something?
Yeah, like I don't want my wife to know that
Yeah.
I'm going to Burger King to get cinnamon
Right.
rolls. You know those cinnamon
Yeah.
rolls you could get
The
there.
Cinnabons. Yeah.
And so I go at like 10 and order like 7, and then sit in the parking lot of
Burger King.
Burger King,
Yeah.
and go hard on cinnamon rolls, and then go home and just be like, dude, I hate, you know.
Were you starting to notice the
the
difference
thing-
too, like physically? Were you starting to get any negative side
I
effects
don't-
from the binging?
That's the
and
thing.
the-
I'm blessed with
bulimia?
like,
Good genetics, man.
yeah, I'm blessed with like I can eat that's another thing. I can eat what I want. Usually I don't,
You work out enough.
and I train, you know, but
yeah.
it's a psychological. What I've realized
That almost makes it more dangerous, right? Because it's like, oh, no consequences, so I can keep this up.
Visually, yeah.
no one knows, but
Exactly.
then that narrative in your head
Yep.
goes bad.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's the same thing as addiction,
know,
like you said.
yeah,
When
the
the
narrative,
worst
you know.
thing is no consequence, because then it's like, oh well, I'll do it again then.
Yeah, and that's what I've learned with like foods. I call them foods with no breaks, like the foods you can just go hard on, and like, you know, the M&Ms or the Oreos, like that they promote an unhealthy psychological response, you know, as opposed to like a steak.
We were just talking about
Right.
the actual cravings from the yeast buildup from sugar. You eat a bunch of sugary and simple sugar, simple carb foods, and it feeds that yeast, and they actually literally send signals to the brain to crave more. All right. And you get healthy fiber, healthy food, whole food, plant food, and it'll start to reshape the culture down in the microbiome. And then
Wow.
it sends signals to eat healthy food. It's so rad. It really is.
Once you heal up your gut.
Yeah, it's about 7 to 14 days of whole food, plant-based, and then it starts to create a new microbiome.
So you're saying vegetarian. When you're saying whole food, plant-based, are you saying that's the majority of it, or you're literally
whole
saying
food, plant-based in our facility is 80-20. So 80% plants, 20% animal meats
Wow.
and stuff.
I bet you get people feeling happy.
Oh my gosh, dude, it's amazing. Literally 2 weeks. The curse of it though is that people that are addicted and struggling, after 2 weeks, they're like, I feel great. I'm ready to go. Get me out. And I'm like, neurologically, you're not there yet.
Yeah.
You know, you still have a lot of behavioral, emotional,
Right.
psychological, neural patterns that you've, like when triggers of stress or fight or flight kick in, that amygdala takes over and it's still super swollen and like, you seen fMRIs with amygdalas that are swollen?
Right.
They literally enlarge, and the frontal lobe has like no activity. And it's like, well, no wonder you're just driving off of a primal, like just me, no empathy in the frontal lobe and things like that. It's crazy what it'll do. But yeah,
which is where whole addiction is based off of.
Yeah.
Is that selfish me.
Yep.
Dude, that's wild. So people come into your program and they get, because dude, food is medicine. Like
Absolutely.
It's the most, because when I'm eating good, like right now, the best thing that works for me is when I eat every 3 hours. I'm consistent with my protein, a fat, and a carb, and I stay consistent. And I don't overeat, and then I have my cheat night on a Saturday night. That system has worked, because then at least I got the reward. I'm like I'm stoked for the night. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be a great night,
dude. I've always noticed you're your happiest when you're on that.
So
you know what I mean?
that's
like
what
when you have your cheat night, like,
Yeah.
and then you stay regimented throughout the week.
But the reward is, for me, when I'm eating healthy, is everything you're talking about. Like, because I struggle with depression and anxiety, and when I am, people always ask me, like, even out at late, and they're like, well, why do you eat healthy? Why? And I'm like, dude, because I am less depressed.
Yeah.
100%. I wake up in the morning.
Wow.
My spiritual work in the morning with my reading and everything that I need to do in the morning is like takes on another level.
Yeah.
And so that's the reward, like, I'm like, dude, I want to eat healthy because I like the way it makes my brain feel. It's not, people are like, well, you look buff, or it's like, it really isn't linked to aesthetics. It's it really is more my mental. Cause like I said,
you've changed your diet a bunch. And if it was just about buff, you already got that and you just kept something going. But I remember when like you said, you did keto. And you've tried a bunch of different things, and it always affected you. I would always remember, because you'd share, and I'd get the videos, the ones he doesn't send on live that would just be one-on-one, which some of them are so good when he's clowning me on the beard. But anyway, back to the food. Like you did kind of shop around until you found the right one that made you feel right. It wasn't about the physical results.
We talked about too a little bit ago on all the serotonin and all the neurotransmitters that are made in the gut. Right? Yeah. People think it's like all up here. It's like, no, it's here. It's here where you make 70% of those neurotransmitter feel-good chemicals. It's like,
so dopamine, 70% dopamine is generated from the gut.
And then it's like 70%, it's majority of your immune system as well.
Yeah.
All that's like, eating healthy is so much more than how you look, right? And if you want to really nerd out on plant-based medicine, like, plants are freaking gnarly. So like in the soils, they'll literally communicate these little electrical signals, and they'll like share little minerals and stuff like, manganese and all these things that people don't even think about these days. They like share and make sure they have all these little minerals inside these plants. And that's what our body needs to be optimal. So we eat these plants. It's not just the fiber. It's not just because they're green leafy and vitamin K. It's like they have so many more phytonutrients and phytochemicals that feed your whole body to be optimal. Right, all these little things take processes, and
bro, we need to get you to come and talk about this to our group.
Love to,
really?
Yeah, no,
yeah, because they could do. Because they could do. Your clients could do them themselves.
Well, yeah, it just would be another, because I can tell you're so knowledgeable about it, and obviously that's a huge. I mean, we have a really big nutrition component here, but it sounds like you understand on another level, like the why behind it.
Yes, exactly that part. Like
the why,
like knowing the why, it's like, okay,
you can tell people to do something, but if they don't know the why and really understand it, they're like, all right, I'll give it a shot, but they have to then experience it and feel it and, things like that. So,
When people come into your program, are they like, do they kind of have a hard time at the beginning when they're starting to change?
Yeah.
Because they just got maybe heroin out and they maybe want to lean on food.
for sure.
Yeah.
It's been a battle from day one. It's one of those things like, I won't say his name either, but a
Right.
mutual friend of
Right.
ours who was an owner came in and he was like, it's like, so you guys are getting started? You guys, I know you have the healthy recovery type of thing and nutrition. So you're going to allow smoking? And I'm like, no way. Like, there's too much research. It swells the amygdala. It slows the healing. It causes cancer and long-term
Right.
use. Like all these things. Like, why would we allow that? That's like adding to their addiction and unhealthy.
Wow.
And so he's like, good luck. We tried that. But this industry, because
and meanwhile go to
the
AA
addict,
meetings and
and I can say the addict, right? Because
Yeah.
I know it's
Yeah, we're all
we're
addicts,
in
yeah.
recovery, so we
Right.
can say that. But they dictate their treatment, because treatment centers are like, well, we have to have patients and we have to make it so they want to come, and if we don't let them
Yeah.
smoke, then they won't come. And I'm like, no,
So you've held to that?
we've held to that.
Wow.
100%. And
that's
people,
strong. Yeah.
and now we don't even worry about it. At first, even our marketing people like, Jordan, I'm losing people left and
Oh no,
right.
you will. That's a fact.
And I'm
you
like,
will lose some.
just trust me. This
Yeah.
will work out. Just educate them, tell them the why behind it, right? They have a better chance in recovery if they remove all addictive substances. Let that brain, that amygdala heal, the frontal lobe get more
Right.
power again, give it the essential fatty acids to grow, and give it the amino acids to feel good, and then do like consequence work, chess, planning, strategizing, goals. Get that frontal lobe back on, then decision making gets better, and all that stuff.
Wow,
It's rad.
that's so dope.
Yeah. So to answer I don't think I answered your question. Is it hard for them at first, right? They're like, I'm ready to slay the dragon, right? I want to take care of what's going to kill me now, and I'll worry
Yeah,
about
and then I want to lean
food
on my
later,
crutch.
For us, and even our doc for a while was like, Jordan, I think this is too much, too quick. We got to give them some comfort food before we like have to give all this
Right.
healthy food, and I'm like,
Give them a
no,
Twinkies.
this is what's going to
Twinkies and a
help
cigarette.
with their aches and pains, anti-inflammatory
Oh,
foods, right? So they have less withdrawal, less depression,
That's big.
all these things. Like, this is medicine. This is not just like a throw something in your food to make you feel satiated. No, this is healing power. This is
Right.
accelerated healing. That's why we do this plant-based whole food, organic nutrition, and it's huge.
Jeez. And so you're you obviously have a chef that makes everything.
she's a nutritionist
master
too,
level nutritionist, holistic nutritionist. She's brilliant. And
Wow.
in the last 7-8 months, our nutrition has been good, but now it's great. Like, it was all whole food, plant-based, organic, but now we got another cook in there who's in recovery, Trevor. He's a stud.
Yeah.
And
Trevor was
he
in there when
throws-
I went through, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And he threw in a whole different spin, and let's make sure it's got a little bit of flair, a little bit of flavor, a little bit of this, but it's still just as healthy.
Right.
And that like aesthetic part now,
Oh, it looks good.
that just looks beautiful and
Oh,
nutritious, delicious, and I mean, it's next level now, which is amazing. And then you just add in the other parts of the program with, equine and spiritual and other physical components and social components.
Right.
It's awesome. I love what we're doing. I love what you guys are doing, and I just love helping
Dude,
people.
it's sick how far you've come. How many years have you been going?
Just-
3 or
just
4
over 2
years?
years.
2 years.
Yeah, just over 2 years and built out.
Dude,
the whole thing.
share how you came to be
Yeah.
it, because I mentioned in the introduction, which I don't know if you were able to catch it, but at one point he was in that same building as a client, cheeking Suboxone. You know what I mean? Getting caught, giving it to another client, and then now he's running a treatment center. And
Yeah.
so it's so far how you come from a troubled patient to
Student to coach.
By the way,
exactly
now
right.
that- I want to get to that quick squirrel. Don't make me forget about number 22, because we both got a little thing for that, don't we? You have
Yeah.
a little thing. Okay, I'll tell you. Do you researched the number 22? What it's about?
Uh-uh.
You'll love to hear about
Really?
it. Yeah, I'm a huge 22 guy. It was my sports number growing up,
Right.
but it wasn't until last year that I learned like numerology about 22, and I was
Right.
like,
Numerology
"Rad."
is interesting, man.
So, anyways, story time. How long we got? Where should I go? How
Alright.
far? I don't really want this to be about me, but
Well, no, share about it, man.
Um,
You
Yeah,
guess.
just how
I
you
mean,
got it all.
I'll try to give as nutshell as I can on it. Growing up, good family. So some people are like, oh, you have to have a bad family or trauma, or were you beat as a kid or whatever. Like, what happened? Why would you end up a heroin addict on the street?
Right.
But it doesn't have to be that way, as we know, right? But for me, I didn't emotionally regulate well, right? I didn't really have anybody that mentored and modeled how to, share and express emotions well, right? It was always fake it, put that face on, put your representative on, and do what you got to do. But so I didn't have those skills, and then I had a reward deficiency in the brain. So there was a genetic component for sure. And we have DNA tests these days that'll show you that, which is rad, right? That's another part of the future of addiction recovery, I think. So anyways, had the genetic components, and then didn't have a real identity. I don't know if you guys have seen what's his name? Shoot. He had depression. He played for the Cavs, big dude. And then he won a championship with LeBron. Kevin Love.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a cool story if you guys haven't seen it. Really raw, real story about depression and identity and like what he was going through. Right. Great read if you ever get a chance. But point being is I didn't have a real identity. Basketball was my identity. I traveled around the country and played and planned on having a scholarship and doing that. That was my path, my identity. And then my junior to senior year, I blew out my knee. And, then there goes your outlet, your passion that releases neurochemicals that feel good.
Shatters your dreams, man.
Shatters your dreams. And now I'm also exposed to the opioid, right? I've got a reward deficiency in the brain, and I've got emotional regulation issues. Yeah. And then I lose my passion and my hobby that's healthy for me. And boom, I take those pills and my brain's like, this is all you need. This is all you need.
That's crazy. That sounds like me. Like when you say like socially, like a lot of people don't know this about me either, but like I am a little bit socially, like I don't like to talk to people.
Yeah, I get nervous.
Dude, but people love you though, man.
Well, no, but I've gotten better at it. But if you really get to know me, like I'd definitely rather be down in the corner.
Yeah, no, it's a little uncomfortable for me for sure. I was shy growing up.
But you think that played a role when you took that opiate? Now it's like,
Mr.
Let's
Social.
go talk to somebody. I'm gonna call somebody.
Yeah, definitely lower the inhibitions.
Right.
Almost
and
like
confidence, just lower confidence, and then
no pain, physical or mental pain or emotional pain. No wonder people are attracted to it, right? And all these billion-dollar companies profited from it. So I was exposed and realized like, this is all I need, and it suffices my reward deficiency. And luckily the first surgery I was able to get out of it, but I knew my brain wanted it, right? But the second surgery, not so good, know. And then you start working. I'm trying to keep up with my work, my landscaping business at the time, and I was employing my friends, and then they'd be hungover, the next morning, and they don't go to work, and so I got to work twice as hard. So what I do, twice the pills.
Yeah. Oh, doc, I ran out early.
Yeah, and so it quickly became a chemical dependency, and we can talk later on the difference between chemical dependency and addiction, right? Because it's great that you experienced, not great, but in a way, I think you'll be grateful you did experience the food addiction part too, because you can relate to more people, right? I feel that way too. It's like we have to go through and experience it to empathize and really help people. And that's,
100%.
God uses some of us, I think, to say, hey, go experience that, and then you can help some people, right? But
1,000%.
Anyways, so yeah, after that, that second surgery, fell into a little bit harder. And then, summer when I was working a lot, I made enough money that I was fine. But, winter comes, your work slows down. You can't afford that.
Better have
that oxy addiction no longer. That's an expensive habit.
That's what you were doing was oxys.
Yeah.
Wow.
What'd your dose get to a day?
I don't know. I mean, not crazy high. I mean, maybe like 4 a day.
430s?
480s.
Oh, 480s. Okay. Yeah.
So that was terrible. I hope nobody was just triggered. I got a little bit of a feeling inside of me, like, oh,
No, hey, listen, we get raw in here, man.
It definitely gives me the
your story will touch someone that experienced exactly what you've experienced.
Hopefully. So went through that and then couldn't afford it, right? And it's like, hey, someone tells you like, hey, this is the exact same, chemical for a fifth or a tenth of the cost, and you're like,
and it comes
okay,
in a cool color
it's
balloon.
just a plant.
Yeah.
This is natural, son of a, whoever told me that, they totally. So that was heroin. Thank you for that introduction.
I didn't know you got into heroin.
Oh yeah, it was bad, man. I was IV.
You shooting up?
Yeah, I was IV. It took about 6 months, and there was a guy I was doing it with, and man, I wanted to say this dude's name too because he's a executive director in the industry that's pretty well known, but he'll probably know who I'm talking about. But he was the first person that I shot up with, and there was no looking back. One of the guys in the room when I was smoking, he's like, do you see all that you're wasting is going in the air? And I'm just like, that's all it took for my brain to be like, yeah, he's got a good point.
I only have one balloon left. Yeah.
Like your addict brain, it's all it needed to be like, let's take it to the next level. So anyways, yeah, that was bad. I got that for a good solid year and a half. Losing everything, right? Talk about isolation. It was like work if you could even hold a job, and then down to the
Absolutely.
basement in the dungeon. And I remember my friends being like, "Do you ever come out of there?" You know, I was very social, but after basketball and didn't have my scholarship anymore, and I did do some medical, stuff from there on out, and I definitely got a lot of medical pre med stuff done, but then drugs took over.
They will kill your social life. They will
Everything.
kill anything that you
Everything.
have, as we know.
Everything. And isn't it so weird, the cliche of like anything you put above your recovery
Is what you lose.
But like it's so true over and over and
Yeah.
over again. People do that. And
No, I'm not going to go to
things.
treatment because I got to be there for my wife.
Good luck. Your
Okay,
wife's gonna
like
be
you're going
gone
to put
in
your
6
wife
months.
first. No, of course, LT and Felice, their experience is fascinating. But oftentimes people say I can't do treatment because I have to be there for. Well, dude, that's what you end up losing then. If you're putting her first, if the reason is, if that's, but whatever you put before your recovery is
It's
exactly
hard.
what you'll lose.
People get jealous. I'm not saying anything, like that, but family, or like my family should be number one, or I should be number one, but you are number one when you do recovery.
You have to
But
be.
you can't put family, you can't put really anything else.
It's you'll lose it.
You'll lose it.
Yeah.
And maybe a higher power, maybe, there's some maybe truth to that, but yeah. So anyways, my story got there where I lost my job. I lost everything. My parents, like, oh man, it makes me want to cry thinking about them having to kick me out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When your counselor is like, you can't let him be there if he's going to be using. You can't be comfortable. And how true is that?
How old were you at that point?
I was like 19, 20,
Okay.
something like that.
Oh, wow, so
And
you did heroin that young.
yeah, I mean, when I was
And you're 32 now, right?
graduation day when I was 17, I was 18 then. Was when I did when that kid was like, "Hey, try this. It's a plant. It's just opium."
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Oh,
"Oh, what's
yeah.
that?"
Yeah.
A couple weeks later, like, "Did you know that's heroin, right?" I'm like, "Oh, that's not good."
That's how it was sold to us. I remember smoking weed with opium on it.
Right. Yeah.
That's how it was sold
Yeah,
to
just
you
a
back
plant.
then. It's just
No.
opium.
It's just a
Just a
plant. Yeah.
plant.
Forget that it's processed with all these chemicals and turned into.
Wow, that
Heroin,
that
but-
just made me realize I probably smoked heroin.
Yeah. It's essentially,
Interesting. I
yeah.
didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Rarely
it's bummer.
would you have seen pure opium. You know what I mean? Like it was anytime someone
Mixed
told me
in.
that it was just heroin. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. That's wild.
So quickly ended up living in my car and losing that too. And I remember, my turning point was when my family did an intervention. Classic. Pulled up to my, because I wasn't that stupid, right? I knew that heroin's not good for you.
Right.
So I wanted help. Tried the Suboxone route for several months. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just more addictive.
Right.
Just made me feel sick. It lowers your testosterone. It destroys your gut. Does all these things to you. It's not meant for long-term use, but
Right.
I'm not shaming it.
Right.
There's a time and a place.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. It definitely is better than someone shooting up on the streets, but it shouldn't be a long-term answer in my opinion.
Right.
Vivitrol is a way better option if you can get off both,
Yeah.
right? But anyway, so ended up going to the intervention. Family said, we can't let you around nieces and nephews. Family, it's dangerous for them. And that was the kind of realization.
Hard to hear, isn't it?
You're just like, wow, I can't even be around the kids. Like, I'm not a bad person,
Yeah.
but I get it, right?
But you are. when
But
you're
you
doing
are.
that.
You're doing some pretty bad stuff.
Absolutely.
You're not the same person. You're driven to survival mode all the time. As soon as that withdrawal kicks in, nothing else really matters, right? All the other dopamine producing things that are meant for our human nature, food, shelter, sex, all these things that produce neurochemicals like dopamine, they're so far down the list
Yeah.
because
Wow.
they're like 1/100th of that
Right.
chemical release. So like, why would your brain even think about anything else but that?
Right.
Right.
And that's what happens in that neuroadaptation in the brain, that tolerance, is you start to use that chemical, and when you get stressed and the brain uses that and you get relief from that, it makes that loop from the amygdala to the hippocampus to the frontal lobe and back and says, remember that. So remember it is the hippocampus. That's the memory center, right? Frontal lobe is planned to get this again. It's executive function again. And then just makes that loop. And the more you use that in times of stress, the more ingrained. Pleasure Unwoven, that documentary
Oh, yeah.
talks about that. And so when people go into treatment for 30 days, and think that they're good, it's like, no, how many years did you create that deep loop in that brain? So until you have new coping mechanisms that your brain says, oh, that worked for me to get out of that stress mode, plan to do that again if you can, right? And then next time in automatic response, it's still going to say chemical, but you've got to have, you know, people support and some, you know, really good coping mechanism. We have a recipe for success card that's pretty cool. And then you try that coping mechanism and you just reinforce that over and over and over again. That might take a year before your brain finally defaults right to the healthier coping mechanism, but it takes a while, you know, to overpower. It's like a deer down a path, you know, it's going this way for so long, there's a nice path, but this other way actually is a faster route to the watering hole, so someone ventures down that, but it's a little bit, you know, more resistant, right? A little harder, you know, there's still kind of, there's a path here, wait, there's a path, you know, and then all of a sudden you do this one enough and that one starts to overgrow, and then you've got a new pathway here, right? Same thing in the brain. It's really the way the brain works. So ended up
so intervention, classic intervention, right?
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Committed to
Letters,
treatment, but
everything.
not for 3 days, right? They're like, you got to go today. I'm like, no, I'll go Monday. You know, like my stubborn addict brain was like, I gotta go out hard or something. You know, I can't do that. Of course, that's when overdose happens, and I'm very lucky.
Exactly.
I mean, I did like 60 balloons in 60 hours. It was crazy.
Just because the thought that you knew you're going into treatment.
I was
slamming 60 in 60 hours.
I don't know what our language is allowed on here, but yeah, I was like, you piece of crap. You know, you're worthless.
You were slamming 60 in 60 hours.
Yeah, so I did. It was 15 balloons of white and about 45 of black, and it was just back and forth, speedball, back and forth, just all day.
And you OD'd for sure
for like 2.5 days. So I mean,
if you're doing both, that's just so dangerous, man.
I mean, overdose, that word in itself, like for sure, right? I overdosed myself because any dose of it's over, you know. But
you didn't have to be revived.
I didn't have to be revived, but I do remember waking up a couple times with that, like, you know, your respiratory system was like pretty much done. You were that close to death, and you wake up from passing out. You know, I did that several times. Yeah, so it got pretty bad, and then you know, went to Cold Creek. That house that we're at now, and you know, I was lucky enough to have family support. You know, it's hard. My least favorite part of my job right now is trying to get people in financially. You know, we've been trying to do the nonprofit route for a while. It still has its challenges, but you know,
did you end up going nonprofit?
No, not yet. We're pretty close, but for now, you know, I just want to help people, and it's so hard. Like I have to run a business. You know, I have to pay people and all the healthy food.
No matter what,
to make
a
quality
business
program, it's not cheap. You know, and so when people want free treatment and they need it and they're begging me, you know, and it breaks my heart every time. I can't handle that part of my job to try to get them coming. But anyways, I was lucky that I had family and clergy and other supports and had a little loan I had to pay back, but 18 grand. You know, like back then, it's crazy. That was 10, 11 years ago. And so,
how much did you spend on dope?
Oh man, I don't know, because
but you know what I'm saying.
Unfortunately, I was slinging it, and you know, trying to make sure I sold 5 to be able to get my one, you know, or whatever, because I was broke. So that's kind of how I did it. But
think about your car. Your car was gone, so you lost that.
So that's in the whole time,
that's a cost. You spent way more than treatment cost.
I've heard every addict spends over $1 million, like on average, on their addiction. And that's like court costs. That's everything inclusive, right? And people spend more than that quite often. But for me, I definitely spent over a house. You know what I mean? Like during that, especially when I was doing the oxys and all that stuff. You know, when you're doing cocaine, oxys, all that stuff, you're just like, you're blowing through money like no one's business. You know.
I remember it was when it was 1080s a day back. You know.
Where though? Those were like $80 a pill, weren't they?
Well, yeah. I mean, of course,
they're more valuable than gold.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they were. I mean, you
per milligram,
literally,
for sure.
when you actually weighed them out, but they'd sell for 100. They'd sell for 100 in Alaska. They would go for like 160, $2 a milligram.
Crazy.
Like I have all the crazy stats I was just provided last week of the different regions and what different prices are for different things across the country. You know. And it's pretty wild, but yeah, $1 million on average for an addict. It makes sense.
Yeah, court costs, everything.
But yet, $18,000
especially if
brings you back to life.
Yep. Especially if you were like making money. Like I know another one of my good buddies was making money. He had a business, same thing, and the dudes who are doing that, it seems like it hits them. Like because you don't run out of resources right off the bat.
Families.
That was the
it's
problem
not always
for me
just
at
your
that
money,
time,
right?
Yeah.
You're not spending $1 million on yourself,
right?
But family and the court systems and taxes and fines and classes, and because even like
And lost revenue from being locked up, if
Yep.
that's a reality,
Yep.
you know.
Yep, all the factors. So went in, got treatment, realized pretty quickly that I always loved the human anatomy, body, physiology,
Right.
Well,
health,
it sounds like you did
sports
pre-med.
science. Yeah, I was really wanting to do I wanted to be a neurosurgeon. Talk about being a little bit
Right.
overzealous, but just rad. The brain is so cool. Like on
I don't say that's
the brain.
overzealous at all, man. I say
Well,
you
it's
could
pretty
still be
intense.
one if you
it's
want.
pretty intense. But there's a documentary called The Brain, Dr. Eagleman right now. That's some new cutting edge brain stuff, and they can literally put a microphone inside the area of the brain, and they can hear a synapse.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh, it's so rad. So,
So
the
they
brain
could
is
literally map
fascinating.
the way audibly, not
Yep.
only visually
Yep.
through it, but they can actually audibly map
Yep.
the way. That's crazy.
Yeah, so cool, man. That one's a great documentary. If you guys have time to check it out, it has a lot of good stuff. So got in treatment, and then really loved the idea of helping people in that area. Right, I wanted to help people get healthy. I
Right.
knew that already, but this area, I was like, there's a big need. It was so easy to fall into this, so hard to get out of it. Like people need help, and it's only getting worse. The mental health epidemic. Another one, I was telling him, I sent you an email last night. I was jazzed after watching I Am last night.
Yeah, I look forward to watching it.
And
What's that?
it's another little documentary thing. It's the guy, the producer of like Ace Ventura. He did a
okay.
bunch of movies.
Classic movie, by the way.
He did some really good ones. Bruce Almighty. He did a bunch of really good ones, but he realized he got so rich so quick, and
You got people that love neurology, by the way. You got Alicia that loves neurology.
Yeah, neurology's awesome.
Bree Smith says food's one hell of a drug.
Brain spotting and brain mapping is really cool too. So thanks for that.
So-
You got a lot of people interacting.
Yeah. So let's see.
It's the I Am one.
I Am. So that one, the reason that one was so cool is it was talking about mental illness, where it's really like our culture is got to be mentally ill. Where he's like, I had, when I got that money, I'm buying these mansions and these Lamborghinis and just all this stuff, jets. Meanwhile, across the street, there's someone homeless on the ground. Meanwhile, across the country, there's someone who's just starving to death. And across the world, they're in wars and it's just
Yep.
rubble and there's kids. You know what I mean? Like that is mentally ill. If you can do that while that's going on.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really cool twist on mental illness. Our
Yeah.
culture is just is in a bad way, but a lot of things with connection and how everything's connected. They did some cool studies with like, I don't want to get into the yogurt one, but basically the quantum world, the entanglement. I mean, it got
Quantum
really
stuff's fascinating.
intense. It got really intense, but everything's connected. We're all connected. And it showed, it was like the basis of human nature. Are we wired to be compassionate and good, or wired to be competitive and, all that? And it dives into that. And it was really cool to show. They went around and studied like all human life. Everything is wired in our DNA to connect, cooperate, and be compassionate. And so everything works better together. And like humans wouldn't survive without cooperation. Like your parents and people have to like take care of you and show you.
Oh yeah, what are you gonna
And
do?
then
Be a
other
baby
things
and
mean more for
take care of
connection
yourself?
too, right? We know connection's the opposite of addiction in a lot of ways, right?
Yep.
There's other components, but that's a big part.
Well, and you got Alicia who says her goal this year is to learn deep brain stimulation.
Get into it. Get into
We
it.
always appreciate the comments and the interaction.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's a big part of cooperation with that. Even the animal world, every part of it. They showed like the birds that like fly together and like turn at the same time. And the
Oh,
fish.
absolutely. I was just talking.
crazy stuff
I was just
that
talking
work
to someone about
together.
that yesterday. I'm like, isn't it wild? I mean, the birds, they don't talk, but they're flying together.
Yeah, they showed this one with like elk, and they're like, it's really scientific where they have to like get to the watering hole soon enough so like some of the herd doesn't die from dehydration, but can't go too soon or they won't get enough nutrients from the grass. And like, it has to be just the right timing. If they run too fast, they'll lose some of them to predators. And like, it's really like this art. And they're like, they figured that the bull or whatever would be like the one to be like, all right, let's roll, and start heading out. But no, it was all the other deer like would start like pointing at the water, and the 51 percentile, as soon as like if there was 100, the 51st one that points at the watering hole, all of them move.
Wow.
So it is a democracy. In nature,
right
they
when
found
it hits
all of
the
it is just
majority.
communication in a democratic way to all support one each other. I mean, it's a cool, rad thing.
Wow.
So there's been some cool ones lately that I've been checking out, but we're going on some tangent, are we? So treatment, got there, wanted to help people, got out, and just started building the program. Like literally right then, I'm writing
Well,
down things.
when I met you, so you ended up becoming an LCSW?
Sudsy.
Oh yeah, okay. So because I met you that one time, remember, up at that place you were working that had that gym,
Yep, with the Mountain Ops Gym
Yeah,
and,
that was
and our
sick.
Lifted Life Counseling Center.
and
And
you were just getting ready to make the jump.
Yep.
And do it.
it was crazy, man. And I'm
Sick
so
move.
lucky, Kenny Thompson, shout out to him, partner of mine that was willing to take a chance. He knew I was passionate about this stuff and told him there was a house there for sale. I wasn't planning on doing treatment center for a while. It's like, I need to build up my practice and then do
Right.
that. But when that place came for sale, it was just like,
Yeah,
I
see,
could
I
run
love that
place.
story. I love that part of the story. You literally saw it, and you were a client there. And You're
Yep.
like, oh shoot, I could do
That's
that.
my dream, and
Oh,
that's where I could do it. I know every blind spot on every camera. I could
Yeah,
run that with my
exactly.
eyes closed.
Yeah.
Like, I could run a place there. Called my buddy up, and he's like, I'll have it under contract tomorrow. Let's go. I'm like, okay, rock and roll.
Dude,
So I've
that's
been building
dope
it. And
story.
so it's beautiful. I even have people at our billing company that were like, oh, I went to the U with you. I remember you were back there drawing pictures of diamonds and diamond trees. And I was just like, yep.
Yeah, so that's how you kind of came up with like you always had that kind of vision.
The balancing the diamond idea with the mental, physical, social, and spiritual areas, and that creating this energized,
Love that.
resilience and brilliance and clarity and things like that, and it's you're cleansing from a dark coal-like state and all that
Right.
stuff. That was always there. And then the tree component, Jake Probert, a cousin of mine, my wife's cousin, helped a lot with the early stuff. Shout out to him and our illustrator
Sorry, bro.
Randy was awesome, and we worked with him for a long time on the portrait stuff. But the tree came from pulling energy from that diamond, because I noticed like the balance stuff. First, I noticed when it didn't work, I got so amped about like scheduling balance and goals and this type of stuff and health and nutrition and all that. But I realized, like, if you don't give a about yourself,
Yeah.
you're not going to care to schedule things.
Yeah,
You got to have
right.
some self-love. Like
Right.
there's a basis there first. And 12 steps help people get, respect for themselves and make amends and things like that. So that's a great thing to do. But other than that, we realized the next thing we were missing was passion and purpose.
Yeah.
Right? You can do all the health things, you can do groups, you can do all that stuff in AA, but if you can't have fun, what's the point of
Yeah.
sobriety?
Oh yeah.
So scheduling
Has
passions,
to be better than what it
scheduling
was.
your cheat days, scheduling venture, travel, things to look forward to. Literally, on another documentary is good, is The Story of God with Morgan Freeman. And he did brains research on different religions. As long as you believe and have faith in something better in the future, your frontal lobe works better. You have better activity here, and you're happier because your brain just has something. It doesn't matter what it is. 7 wives when you die, creating worlds when you die,
Right.
heaven, or just next month, I'm going on a good vacation.
Wow.
Something better than today is so
Yeah.
important to have a belief
A
in.
little bit of reward.
Yeah, faith is the most powerful emotion, which is a
Yeah.
really cool thing to dive into as well. But passion's huge, and so the trunk of the tree pulls that energy from that diamond for a path towards passion. Because if you're sick and depressed, you're not pursuing passions. You
Right.
barely get out of bed.
Right.
But if you get that lifestyle balance on point, then you have energy to pursue passions, and then the blossom into a meaningful purpose is the pinnacle of the tree. That self-actualization.
dope.
Find something you're passionate about, and then help other people
Yeah.
while doing it. Like you
Right.
working out, look what you're doing. You turned a passion into a purpose.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's beautiful. That's
Yeah,
what it's
that
all
is.
about.
Yeah, and then he's got student to coach model, which
Yeah. It's the same
people
thing.
run exactly.
Progression.
Yeah.
I love it. I love
Wow.
it. So that's a little bit of my
Has
story.
it been hard? So when you first started it, because I look at when this journey. I mean, this year it's 10. It was 10 years in September. Since
Yeah,
I
it's
started
unreal,
Roar.
man.
Like,
It's unreal.
oh, dude, I lost my house. I lost my credit. I'm still driving a silver car with a broken window. But like, has it been hard? Like
my
you go
gosh.
through times when you're like, dude,
Dude, John knows
Talk
a lot
about-
of my story of that
Yeah,
part. The business
talk
part
about
it's been so hard, man. There's been so many blows. Like the silver lining for me, or whatever, I guess, what keeps me going. There's a lot of things. I'm very passionate about helping people is a
Yeah.
big one. I've got some good support and great people around me. Great team. My wife's done a lot and helped a lot, and a lot of people have. But it's been extremely difficult, and I believe that when people are trying to do really good
Yeah.
things, there's this opposing energy that's
Yeah.
like trying to just block it and block it. Like they can see how many people that are getting free from their bondage,
Yeah.
the pains and chains
devil's
and
real.
shames. I believe there's
Absolutely.
there's that
Yeah.
energy, man. You gotta respect the dark side. It's
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
and be aware, and do what you need to do to keep it at bay, but respect it.
Yeah.
But
Oh, yeah.
but yeah, people just seem to really gravitate to the people helping people model,
Right.
and that's helpful, but extremely difficult, man. I mean, and we're not out of it. We're still early on.
Oh,
We're still
yeah.
trying to figure it out. COVID's been a killer for outpatient, stuff like that, and just policies and procedures, trying to keep up all the time with different regulations and
Oh, yeah.
all that stuff, but extremely difficult.
Well,
Definitely.
and you guys
definitely.
haven't had any like
no
people
cases.
have had no COVID cases, right?
Neither
Both
you?
of you.
I haven't either.
See, and then that's what I was just going to say. It's so fascinating to me because I work with a lot of different treatment centers in different capacities, right? I mean, whether it be as an interventionist or, or through different businesses I have. But the point is there's been quite a few COVID cases that programs have experienced, but your guys' programs that are so like health based,
Yeah, health based.
Nada.
All about.
it's like COVID, you're not touching us.
That's what.
So,
That's what I
it's pretty
always have a
crazy.
hard time. I'm like, when we got shut down, because we got shut down. Like we got shut down the week we were supposed to move into this place, and like
So brutal.
It was really scary. But like, what I've seen is, I mean, it was kind of a blessing in a lot of ways. But the health we're asking people to live is going to help you compete with COVID.
It's going to
Yeah.
smash COVID.
I
mean,
And
not
so-
to
Definitely
downplay it, but
yeah, like I mean, nutrition, health. It's like no one talks about. We don't want to get on this subject. This could go political.
It could go,
I
right,
know.
right,
We're getting
but-
this shut down.
Yeah.
so
but what I'm saying though is clearly good health and good fitness. I mean, it and
helps.
good diet
Yeah.
completely helps,
It's
right?
help
I
builds,
mean,
builds your immune system, and it's a big deal. But yeah, COVID's legit.
of course it is.
legit.
Hey, absolutely.
It's a legit thing that we need to be cautious and be careful of. And really, to me, people that have immunocompromised situations need to be very careful.
Absolutely.
And they need to be
100%.
aware. I'd love it on Facebook if people had like a special color around their thing, like, hey, me or my family has this. So just be aware. Like,
Absolutely.
give us a
Well, and if
little more-
anyone's listening now, I mean, I know I have people that I love that have been impacted by COVID, that have had to go to the hospital twice, 2 different times for COVID, lockdown, people coming basically in hazmat suits. It's definitely real. They're extremely compromised, you know what I mean? But in extreme poor physical health, still in their addiction, and
Yeah.
things like that. But what I'm saying for those that are living a healthy lifestyle and working out, et cetera, I think it does, like you said, to compete with it. It
It
makes
competes.
it much harder
Yeah.
to,
and
to
you'll bounce back quicker.
Yeah.
Type
bounce
of
back
things,
quicker.
and there's a lot. I talked to a lot of doctors, and one in particular, super brilliant, has gone global with a lot of his mental health, programs and stuff. Just great guy, and he has good friends that are epidemiologists. I mean, high level people.
certainly.
And the research really is showing that even people under the age of 40 will still have cardiovascular damage long term from it.
Yep.
And people that are above 40, like it's a 60% chance of having long term
Yep.
cardio. So we all think it's the lung thing, right? Because that's what we see, and we know that's like the primary
Yeah, the
symptoms
scarred
of,
lungs.
of pressure there and stuff. But cardiovascularly, it's a pretty big deal. But yeah, eat right, sleep right, and exercise gives you a great chance. But he does like colloidal silver. The doctors that are treating patients every day,
Right.
like they're doing like the natural ones, they're doing like colloidal silver to block some of it, and they're doing echinacea and some other herbal things as well to try to boost themselves and protect themselves. And then the quercetin is the treatment.
Well,
But
now we
yeah,
got a cure. Now we got a
looks
cure.
like we're doing okay with
you know?
it. So
That's why I wanted to add. I'm thanks for saying that with how hard it's been. I wanted
So
to
hard.
know that
Dude.
because I remember when you were telling me about it, when you were telling me about your program and everything, and then I watched your first year, and I always have just been wondering like, God, I bet this dude's going after the high adventure experience.
oh my gosh, it was
because-
adrenaline. Like I like a good challenge, but
Yeah.
man, wanting to puke or cry about 5 days a week is tough. You know what I mean? People
Yeah.
have no idea. You walk into the group or whatever, because I still do some groups and staff, whatever, and it's just
You gotta hold a
smile
lot
and
in,
hold it
man.
together. You know what I mean? But at night, I'm just like, oh my gosh, are we gonna make it another day? You know?
right.
It's tough. It is extremely, extremely tough. And my wife, she'll probably listen to this at some point. If you asked me, is it tough? And if I would have been like, oh, that's not too bad. She would
Oh, she'd have ripped you apart.
comment on here
at
like
home.
BS,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, like be real. It's been tough.
Exactly.
So it's been,
Dude, my testimony of like, I don't know. So I've lost a lot over these 10 years. Like, you know, like just financial stuff, you know, went pretty dark but I've never gone without though.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Like,
And things
my
have always
kids
turned
never,
out.
yeah, my kids have never felt it really. It's, you know, I did lose my house, you know, had to we moved into this sick apartment though. That someone in my ward, you know, we had to pay like $1,000. It was like 3,000 square feet in this old folks community, like
Right.
nice little beautiful, like, but like, yeah, it was tough to lose my house and stuff, but like, I haven't gone without.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, and each
the
time
thing that I noticed too is like, dude, like, and I've gained a testimony, obviously more of my like my higher power and everything, but like if I keep that, it's gonna work out, dude. You know, and I maybe just tell you that
because you continue doing
'cause
good.
for 10 years. I can, like, when you go dark in your head, like, just know that like I might have to, but it's gonna work out because my motives are pure and like I'm
Bingo.
helping
the right
people,
reasons.
You know what I'm saying?
Right things for the right reasons
Right.
that'll work out. Me and him.
When
talked
you're
about
seeing
a
that
lot.
happen, right? I mean, you're seeing, and just like you, Dustin. Like, I mean, things will go rough, and you'll think it'll be like, then all of a sudden, some new opportunity will pop up.
Talk
Or-
about a spiritual adventure.
oh
Yeah.
my goodness!
Have
Like,
faith.
Yeah,
Of
right.
faith, you know, you just have
And
to
the
believe.
people that have faith in you, which is what
Oh,
puts
man,
the
that's,
pressure
you know,
on, right?
yeah,
when you
it's
got
so
so many
hard.
people whose
Their
life, whose livings,
livelihood
yeah, their
is-
livelihoods
is-
depend on
is
you.
Depending on that's the hardest part.
It's a difficult
Like
spot.
literally, I can't even tell you, and hopefully my staff isn't scared. It's getting better, guys. We're good.
Oh,
We're
yeah,
good, guys.
absolutely.
You
No,
know,
absolutely. I
But
can
honestly,
testify to
like
that.
probably every payroll for the last, I don't know, 3 months. Well, since COVID, really, because our expenses went up big time since COVID. Trying to replace staff and you know, any symptom they have, they like have to send them home and try to
Yeah.
figure out how to fill it in. Our patients are, you know, again, try to make it so they have no idea, but we're over here trying to like train and hire and shift people, and like it's been extremely difficult. But yeah, about every payroll, and our financial gal Jen, she would definitely attest to this. She's just like, what are we gonna do? You know what I mean? Like, it's in 2 days.
Right.
Like, we need like 30K. You know, what are you gonna? We need.
Right.
We're 30K short, and it's just
Yeah.
like we grind, we scrounge, we figure it out, and the right insurance checks come at the right. I mean, and it
Yeah.
keeps me humble.
Yeah.
It keeps me hungry and working hard, I think. And
Right.
there's a reason, you know, a bigger picture. But it's been challenging. But
Yeah.
hey, I tell people all the time, you know, without stress and responsibility, we'd be real pathetic human beings. We need that for growth. And if we're using chemicals to cope
I
with
love
that,
you refocus on it.
we numb
Yeah.
out. We don't get to experience the high, because life, it's like you said, try not to control things. The universe, everything is made of waves. Everything is made of waves when you break it down. And so some scientific things I was reading, it was like, to think that there's not going to be an up and a down of a wave is just like contrary to the universal laws.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so
Laws.
you just have to expect there's going to be up and down. You just have to accept it. And it was saying that the end of this thing
Invite
is
it.
like,
I say invite it.
yeah, just invite and be, but it was like, say yes, like learn to say yes to everything that comes to you. And that's like one of the biggest challenges of life, is just to say yes. Like, just, all right, well, let's figure this out and we'll roll through it. As long as I can do it without coping with unhealthy
Yeah.
mechanisms and numbing,
Exactly.
then you will have the rebound. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. And
Wow,
so
that
if
is
you can't go through that low, you won't feel the high.
Right.
Right. You won't be able to experience that. But if you can cope through this, and then that's what I tell people, is like, the more of this down you can cope with, the
Right.
higher highs you'll be able to experience.
Yeah,
and
you got
feel.
much bigger
You
waves.
You know, so that's the
Wow.
exciting part to look forward to. When you have a tough time, you're like, I know if I can get through this, I will be able to experience even a bigger high. So what do I got to do to get through this? I got to get some support. I got to get people
Yeah.
who care about my well-being, keep them close to me. I got to eat right, sleep right, and exercise, because if I don't have my balance, I can't handle anything. Right. And then Don was great the other day. He's like, hey, man, make sure you're keeping yourself balanced, because you go down, it all goes down.
Yeah.
You know, which luckily, there's a lot of truth to that. But luckily at this point, it's built out enough to where, like, we have such a good team. I mean,
Yeah.
that place is full of
I bet a lot
passionate
of
people,
I bet a lot of people want to work for you.
especially ones that are in recovery. We've
Yeah.
gained some solid people, that just
you got
it's
a
their
good team.
purpose. It's not just a job. It's like, this is my purpose. I
Right.
remember I've had group interviews lately, and there'd be like that one standout that's just like got that fire.
Oh, I love doing those.
Yep.
Yep.
I love recovery. This is my purpose. This is not, that whole thing. And the next person, why did you want a job at Diamond Tree? Pretty convenient location. I live just 5 minutes. I'm like,
Plus, I think
you know what I mean. Which one am I going to choose?
pay
here?
good.
It's not even a question.
Yeah,
And it's fun though, man. Yes, challenge, Mel. So congrats to you too, man. It's cool to see yourself grow.
Neil A. Maxwell, who's like one of my favorite writers. He's like an old apostle in the church. I think he died in like 2002 or something.
What's his first name?
Neil A. Maxwell.
Neil.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You know him? You know?
Yeah.
He
not personally, but yes.
Yeah, he always writes about like how like, and I related to the sober life, but how like life is like putting yourself in life is the high adventure experience, where like he talks about it being the repentance process, and that's basically recovery. Is like, dude, just
make amends.
And then but you're stepping into the actual high adventure. So when you're in the bottom of that wave, like when I go into my depression or things are hard, I'm learning to just realize that's when I'm going to learn.
Yeah.
And I really get into like, I get more spiritual.
Yeah. Let it interest you.
Spiritual when I get depressed. So it's like now when I go low, that's like almost like
what do I need to learn?
You're going to come out stronger.
Accept, and my wife knows me when I get a little quieter and maybe a little less motivated in certain things, but I don't know, dude. And then I come out and it's like I learn, and it's cool, but you're in the bottom. But before I would take something in the bottom, and I would escape that experience down there to try to bring me up.
That's where the growth happens there, though.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just sick, bro. I'm thankful I'm a drug addict.
Absolutely.
Most of us, honestly, it's like we laugh about it, but
right.
I'm serious about it. I am so grateful for my opportunity to go through what I've gone through, and I learned so much about myself. I've been able.
That's
to
the only way I learned anything was from being an addict and going through adversity. Because, like you said, with families and the way you grow up, it's all about just appearances, right? Like, oh no, we don't have any type of depression in this family. We don't have any arguments in this family. Right. We don't have any type of issues in this. We're perfect. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, lift up the curtain. No, you get all those issues. So that's the only way I even learned to admit to myself that I remember I've told you this before, but in Odyssey House, I was literally in the center of the room during one of the what used to be called a marathon, where it's 60 people in the room and I'm in the center just being drilled, and I couldn't own anything. I couldn't own any of my mistakes. Someone would say like, you've got a gray shirt on, and I'd be like, ha. First of all, you're wrong. Second of all, I'm more educated than you. Third of all, it's a light blue, so you can kick rocks. Right. And I had to find a way to actually validate any confrontation anyone was giving me, to be able to actually own my own stuff, which would then let me, because I would always just go to a substance to make myself feel better, instead of being like, wow, I'm extremely insecure. I'm extremely dependent upon love, approval, and respect. I have all these types of thinking errors. Right. If I wasn't an addict, there's no way I'd ever learn that. Not a chance. Yeah. So it's a blessing for us all.
You learn and you grow, and it's about evolving. In my opinion, our spiritual soul. First of all, I believe our soul it's used to being free and weightless and stuff. So like we have the feeling we want that, and we feel a similar fake feeling from drugs, right? We get this weightless, painless, floating feeling, and we crave that. I think our soul wants that. And so meditation, yoga nidra, things like that, man, that's the best highs I've ever had. Best highs. And there's no downside. There's no negative side effect. It's all positive, because when you find that space behind the eyes, when you do the right yoga nidra body scanning, stuff like that, and all of a sudden you just float and you just feel no pain, no depression, no anything other than just weightless, like clarity.
Yep.
Oh, it's so beautiful. And then there's no come down. There's no downside. There's no, body or physical or anything bad to it. So it's a beautiful thing that we do, but we grow through those challenges, right? We evolve through them. And if we use a chemical, we don't face the problem. Oh, who was it recently? It was a Zoom, alumni Zoom this week. that we did, and a guy talked about cows. How there was a farmer and there was dead cows out there after a storm, and they're like, "Oh, why did the cows die?" The ones who don't face the storm head on die. Have you heard that?
That's the whole point of that buffalo downstairs.
Is that what it is?
That's the
so
whole. That's
rad,
the. If you look
dude.
at the
I
model,
was like blown away. And
that's the whole SOAR philosophy. They probably learned it from
that's cool,
D.
Man.
It's pretty wild.
That's awesome. That's the coolest thing. It's that's such a true thing of like, you don't face your problems head on. Like it might kill you, but you're definitely not going to evolve past it. You're not going to be able to grow and get through.
Well, and there's no such thing as joy. I will stand by this. Anyone can try to debate me on it, but when you're in your addiction, you don't ever experience joy. You might feel happy for the moment, but true joy, you will never experience it. Hands down.
Dude, it's even like when I just got to watch my kids on Saturday, you know, like, well, back, like back in the day, I used to be like, well, it was, I would take pills, you know, I'd be like, my wife would be like, you got to watch the kids. Or she had to work, and and I would be like, I gotta take pills today. I can't watch Finding Nemo,
energy,
or whatever.
But then when you take your pill, you're like, hell yeah, Finding Nemo is amazing.
Yeah, but nowadays, like, I got a 2-year-old, you know, and my kid older, but like, I'll still be like, gosh, I gotta watch my kids. Like, I don't want to say that I'm totally stoked on it, which I feel bad about. However,
but
I go through it and I stay patient and try to keep the spirit and really be and stay present. And then even though I'm still just like, how much longer? It's always in my reflection that later in that day, I'm like, damn, what a beautiful day with my little son.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
It's face against your face, man.
But does anyone get what I'm saying? Because
absolutely.
Sometimes during it, I'm like, this kind of sucks. Like he peed in my face when I was changing his diaper. Like, I'm not happy.
But dude, the fact that we got to just laugh about that right now, it's all worth it.
I seem to find the most joy in my reflection a lot of times. And I don't know if I need to fix that, if that's something I'm not doing when I'm present, or I'm not staying present enough, but like I'll be like, damn, that was actually a really good day. Even though during the day I may not have accepted that.
No, but D, the fact that you're thinking about it is the key. And it's like that assignment. Like, remember when I first came on as a guest of the podcast, you asked when we always did the give an assignment thing, you know, or give a, you know, like my thing is what literally saved me and helped me be reflective, which then helped me be more present, but was, you know, and I still struggle with the same thing you're saying. Still do. You know what I mean? Like,
you're so happy, and when you're working, like you see my kids, you seem like you're a better dad than I am.
Dude, I love you. I love kids, man. I love kids. I've always been, even when I was at Odyssey, I was working there is you know, on the exec team over there. The playground was right. I spent an hour a day playing on the playground, you know. But anyway, what I'm saying is that the assignment was, you know, get a piece of paper, line down the middle, 2 columns, plus and minus. At the end of the day, write down decisions you made that made you feel better about yourself.
Right.
And decisions you made that made you feel worse about yourself. And if you were to have avoided being with your kids, you might actually reflect and be like, actually, I feel kind of worse about myself that I didn't take that opportunity on. Then that would manifest into guilt, and that would turn into, you know, so reflecting is one of the best things you can do, though. Being reflective is very good.
Yeah, I just want to bring that. There's just some things. I mean, obviously, we're all still working on, but like, I find myself in recovery sometimes still not content.
Yeah.
You know, but I find the contentment in my reflection for some reason. Like, even like I screwed up my hobbies a lot. Like I used to be a big fly fisherman, but I got into taking pills and fishing and smoking weed and partying and drinking.
Not the same, huh?
So like, even like I took my little boy fishing.
Triggered
when it doesn't trigger me to take pills, but I dread it. Like, which bothers me, because I'm like, why am I dreading taking my son fly fishing? But a part of me, because I'm like, I'm gonna have to, like, it's gonna be work.
Yeah. Well, you probably have some fear too.
But then I get there and I stay present, and we have
something beautiful.
And then
happens.
Later in that day, dude, I reflect on it. I'm like, damn, dude, I'm so proud of myself, and it was a beautiful experience, even though, like, you know,
dude, he'll remember that the rest of his life.
Fly from the tree. And
you're showing up.
Yeah,
man. You're showing up, and I think it's the same as like yoga. For me, that was a weird relation to that, but for me, it's like I dread getting on the yoga mat or going to work out or whatever. Sometimes it's like I just don't really want to do it. There's going to be some effort and some energy and whatever. But sure enough, right afterwards, you reflect back, you're like, oh, I feel so much better. And so it's, to me, it reminded me,
It's
like,
the
you
same
showed
with
up for your
workouts
kids.
and
you showed up.
There was
There you
energy,
go.
there was responsibility, there was things like that. But you reflect back, like, that was good. That was good for me, good for him. I'm
Yeah.
happy about that.
Yeah, maybe you think, because I think I took pills to try to be all things to my everyone.
That's exactly
So I
what
take
it
a pill.
is.
I'd be like, I'm dad of the year. Let's go to Lagoon.
People
Right.
that are on all
Exactly.
the time are on something. I remember my counselor told me
Okay,
that.
there you go.
Yeah, you can't. It's
You can't
impossible
be on
to
all
be.
the time. So if people are on all the time, they're probably on something.
Yeah,
You
and I think that's something I still got to work on. Is it's okay when I'm not on,
Absolutely,
Yeah.
it's completely okay.
but just showing up and being there.
It's hard though when you got people watching you, people looking up to you.
Right.
I'm sure for you that there's a lot of pressure there because you're on all the time. You got people looking up to you, and so if you have a down
Yeah, you
day,
got
they'll
to
be
be
like,
on
"Uh
all the
oh,
time.
maybe I shouldn't follow him if he's not happy."
Yeah.
But
Why
when you
should I-
talk about it and you're open, especially
real.
with the right people, then they'll still follow you. They'll
if they
follow you even
see that
stronger.
down though, see that's real and that's okay. That's a good example. But then they'll see you bounce back and they'll see that smile on the days that
Yeah.
you're on. They'll be like, "Cool, he's human,"
Yeah.
and I think they'll want to follow you more.
Yeah, that's good point.
Yeah,
just-
see,
I
the
just
days
wonder
that
where
I'm
you
off,
guys are at.
the days that I'm off, those are the days where I'm literally 50% my mom, 50% my dad. I just isolate, so you just don't hear from me on my off days. You know what I
Does
mean?
gratitude work for you guys? Because that's one of the best signs.
It absolutely does. But I love being by myself too. You know what I mean? I
Your
love being
gratitude
by
journal?
myself too, and just focusing on what I'm grateful for. You know?
My prayers in the last 3 months have taken on a new meaning. I got into it's really
I can tell just by how you said it, man.
well, they just, instead of, how you just get in a hurry, I really been even preparing to say a prayer, all right, man. A lot of where I've been trying to go with in my prayers, which is gratitude, is help me to keep being aware of the thoughts and behaviors that I might do that would drive the spirit away.
Mhm.
Wow.
Because when I'm feeling the spirit,
That's deep.
which for people listening, it could be whatever the spirit for me is like the pure charity running through my system.
Mm.
But if I have that, I feel it's because
That's good.
but then I'll get a resentment to start coming in. I'll be I get competitive. In business, I get competitive. Business is tricky. You probably know,
Absolutely.
you get competitive, or I see social media, and I'm like,
Theirs looks better than mine.
Yeah, or this is and so that block. It's just like it talks in the steps. That blocks me from feeling the spirit right away. I can't feel the spirit, and then I'm a completely different person.
Yeah.
I'm
Jealous or resentful.
Yeah,
or-
and so now I've been now on that hat. I'm just like, dude, keep the spirit. I asked God earlier in my prayer to help me create awareness around this, dude. Let's not go down that. And I'm moving away, and I'm able to keep my spiritual condition high. You know what I'm saying?
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
That's been some sick work that I've been put in, and this is LT. I've talked to him a lot about it, but that's been cool, dude.
Yeah,
maybe I'm growing to be more like
man.
Christ-like, Dude,
Dude, I
that
believe
I Am
so.
show is huge for that.
Really?
It talks about that competitive and the compassionate and cooperative side. That the Darwinism, right? It got twisted. It got twisted because it was like this battle of the fittest, survival. That's how we've grown as a species and all that. And Darwinism, if you really look at it, it's actually so much about cooperative compassion, and that sympathy is the greatest human emotion and stuff like that. It's a beautiful thing, but it talks about competitiveness. But there's a cooperation and compassion that feeling, that sympathy, compassion, and connection is the best state of being for us. When we can feel that, like you're saying, that it's like coursing, that compassion's coursing through my veins, that spiritual connection, that energy. It's just like, like about elation.
How do you keep that?
Yeah, there's no way we wouldn't be able to feel good
continue to
without
give it
the
away.
bad, right?
Yeah.
You have to feel the opposition to appreciate that feeling, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's like they say, to keep it, you got to give it away. Just the more you do for others, then the better. And think about, when you think about the fly fishing thing, there might be a lot of fear in there of maybe I won't make the experience as special for him as it could be.
That's a big fear.
You know what I mean? Maybe I'm not going to be he's going to hate it, but you know what? as you realize he's going to love it and he's going to remember that day for the rest of his life. You know what I mean? You really, and you probably will too.
I'm sober, you know.
Exactly,
I'm trying,
dude. And look at what you got, man. You, Dustin.
Yeah,
you,
man.
you literally have you got something amazing that's helping
making me
so
insecure,
many
yeah.
people. I know you are, but I'm just saying. I'm saying this about both you guys. Like, listen, both you guys. You guys both do such an amazing job helping people. So
Thanks,
I'm
bro.
thanking you from someone who's been able to observe both your companies help people. You know what I mean?
It's a beautiful
and,
thing.
And,
Yeah.
and of course, I mean, recently with you, you know, a lot of discussions. But Dustin, I mean,
Dude,
we've been together for years.
How can we help each other?
That was right there with you, man.
I was about to
we've been
ask that,
planning
yeah.
on it for a while. Like when you
I
came
know.
and met down at the
Yeah.
basement of our treatment center, and we
Yeah.
talked like, how can we partner up? Like we're both,
Yeah.
you know, fitness and nutrition oriented. We know people need more, but there's got to be ways.
Where do you guys
we'll
work out?
Let Dawn figure it out.
Where do you guys? Where do you guys work out?
Well, I
Where do we work out?
Yeah.
We do Vasa, then we have a garage gym, and then we do yoga.
Maybe you guys need to have a discussion about.
well, I mean,
they
we could maybe bring them up here.
That's what I'm saying.
22 minutes away.
Yeah, 22.
Yeah.
How'd you know that I was a 22 guy?
I don't know. I saw something you were doing at 22. I can't remember where it was, but it's like, he's a 22 guy?
I'm
like,
a
no
33
wonder.
guy.
So
I wonder what that
supposedly
means.
it's like it's a really big, like bringing dreams to fruition number.
Right.
And like really your intentions become true and you have some intentional 22. I don't know. I'm not like a scientist on it, but I remember reading some things about dreams coming to fruition. Number 22 is a big part of it. So
22. That was my hoop number.
yeah, that was my hoop number as
Yeah.
well. So
See, I was at 33, but they're both divisible by 11.
Yep.
So
You
were
know
you
what
a
I mean?
Larry Bird fan or what?
Hey,
Were you though?
listen, man.
Birdman.
Dude, gotta
Dude,
love
that-
Pippen. That's what I was just gonna say. I met Pippen.
Yeah.
I got to meet Pippen back up at Carmelone's house when I was a kid, man. I remember he shook my hand. His hand went to here on my, you know what I mean? I shook his hand. His fingers were like all the way up to here. I'll never forget that, you know. And then I got to babysit Malone's kids. It was pretty fun.
They're both such studs.
Before I became a junkie, for which I'm extremely grateful.
Right.
We're all recovering addicts.
No, Don will
And
get
we're
us
sorting.
together though. I'm sure there's
Yeah,
a way.
let's do it. Or
Don's
like-
got a mind that'll
Yeah.
take us to the next level together. But
Yeah.
we'll help people together for sure. I love what you guys are doing. I love, you know, your energy and you know, you got some good people doing
Yeah.
videography stuff now
Yeah.
too. I loved one I
Yeah.
watched recently with your hand here and you know, here.
Oh,
It wasn't.
yeah.
I don't think it was you actually. It was another guy they had on there, but it was your
Yeah.
guys' video. You guys do some beautiful work.
LT's a genius, man.
So they've done some cool stuff with your
Yeah.
brand and your book. You got
Yeah.
1 or 2?
He's got
Four?
four, yeah.
Jeez, where have I been?
They're not very good.
There,
They're
of course
good.
you would say that, dude. Yeah, we got to work.
No, I
on-
gotta
we
give
gotta
you my
work
lay-
on
I
your
gotta get-
self-talk, bro.
Yeah, I know. Maybe I need to.
No, it just he's
Maybe
humble.
I need to come
He's
to your
humble.
No,
treatment
listen.
center.
I'll tell you this. Like, I'm the same way, dude. When I get compliments, I hate it.
I'm too.
I always deflect.
I hate
you know
when
what I mean?
someone
Like,
sends me a text, like a nice text. I'm like, I gotta
yeah,
say.
I don't
mind the
mind
text.
that as much. But
Face to
when
face.
someone
Says,
tells me
I
like, oh
block
my
it.
gosh, you do this
I
or you do
block
that,
it.
I'm always like,
I don't accept it.
but so do you. Like,
Well-
I'm not very, but I've learned that that's accepting is good. You know, 'cause
Like,
people mean
my
it.
wife gives me like, "You're so sexy." I'm like, "Ugh!" Like it just gives me the shivers. Like, "Ugh!" No way I'm accepting that. Like,
Get
no
anything
way.
for my wife to say that to me.
Well, I mean, it's because my wife's so beautiful that like I just can't even compare to that.
Yeah.
I don't know what I don't accept compliments either. It's a self-love thing. We know that a lot of us
well,
struggle with.
we all
that.
have insecurities.
Self-love,
We all have
self-respect
insecurities,
for sure. It's huge. And like I said, make amends, man. I'll never forget the day that there was a guy that fixed my axle on my trailer when I was in a bad spot in my addiction and for my landscaping company, I needed that trailer to work. And my next door neighbor, he didn't have a lot of money, but he's like, "Yeah, if you get me the part, I'll fix it for free." Just a super nice guy. And so my addict a-hole self didn't pay him even for the part,
Ooh.
even though he fixed it. Right. I moved like a
dude.
month later and I'm like, what
Yeah.
a dick move, you know?
Right.
And it haunted me for like 7 years. I thought about that. Like people matter to me. My integrity.
he went out of
matters
his
to
way
me.
for you, and
He went out of
spent
my
money
way.
on you.
Exactly. You know? And so I remember it was like 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago, maybe less, but years ago. And it was during Christmas time, like a week before. And I just happened to have $100 with me. And I was driving through Bountiful and I was like, oh, dude, I got to do this. Like I've been thinking about wanting to do this.
Right.
And so I just went there and I remember him sitting in his car and his hands just on his face, you know, and I'm just like, oh man. And, you know, of course I have that thought, like, I think he's financially probably really struggling, trying to figure out how am I going to pay mortgage? What am I, you know what I mean? Maybe he wasn't, but that was my own
Right.
ego telling me that,
Right.
whatever.
Right.
But I think it really might have been. So I went and said, "Hey, remember me?" And he looks at me, "Oh, hey, dude, you know, what's up?" You know, he's such a cool guy. And I was like, "Hey, man, I'm really sorry. You went out of your way. You helped me. All I had to do is pay you the $99 for the part, and I'm so sorry, but I want to make sure. And he looked, his jaw like almost hits, because it was like 7 years later,
Yeah,
and he's like, you didn't have to do that. I'm like, I absolutely did.
absolutely did.
And that feeling, his joy, you could just see the joy. And like, I still get the chills from that, man, because it
Yeah,
was
it
just
gives
like
me the
this
chills.
weight. And you got to do those little things to get those weights off your back so that you don't feel like crap about yourself and you respect yourself. Because I listened to a TED talk about addiction. It was talking about if you can go within yourself, like deep inside your core, your soul, and be okay with no noise by yourself and be content,
Right.
That's it.
you won't have an addiction. But if you can't sit there and be okay, content with yourself in the quiet with just you're not going to last. And that was huge for me. I mean, it's complex, right? We
Of
know
course.
addiction is
Well,
so complex.
It's not that
but
you won't have those emotions. It's as long as you can deal with those emotions.
Yeah,
Like,
you
you know
can
what I
be
mean?
okay
Like,
just being.
be by yourself, and you're going to feel insecurities and all types of things. But as long as you know how to cope, then it's good.
Yeah, so I tell people all the time, if they don't feel good about themselves, go make amends or pay it forward. Do some service. Karma is about as real gets, in my opinion. Karma is
Yep.
real.
Yeah.
You do good things for good people, good things happen.
Exactly.
You
Well,
do
I
bad
think
things, bad things happen.
Well, I think that's a good maybe topic to end on is the pay it forward piece, because it's like one of the things I always say too to people. And like you said, things that struggle, it's like, you never want money to be an objective. You want it to be a consequence of good actions. Shout out to Guilherme Hanuj from Brazil for, a mentor to
Say
me.
that
But
10 times fast.
I know, but it's so true. He's like, Don, money must never be an objective. It must be a consequence from good actions, and it's so true. And that's why things have always worked out for both of you. You keep doing things the right way, and
Keep helping people.
Good
Too,
things
bro.
happen.
You're like, you have the biggest heart I know.
dude, come on.
Oh, we're having a feel-good
Oh,
moment.
no.
Hey,
Love you, Don.
Hey, let me end on this if I could.
Yeah.
On that, because I felt this feeling right now, this oxytocin release. I truly believe that if people could have more of that oxytocin, which is the connection, the love drug,
This
the love
chemical
chemical,
right there.
right? The chemical tattoo right there. There would be less reward deficiency in people's brains and way less addiction because people
Wow.
are connecting. They're getting that reward deficiency sufficed in their brain. And that love and connection is a huge answer, right? We know that nutrition is huge because you got to have the neurochemicals to be released, but you got to have a catalyst, and that's love and passion. And that love and passion are the same to me. Passion is like the love of Christ,
Yeah.
Right.
and so that's passion.
Wow.
And so if you can have that love, it conquers a lot of our addictive stuff that we reach for chemicals to cope. If we can reach to others and to love, that's what it's about.
Dude, that's dope. Thank you for
Absolutely,
being
man.
on. I'm glad I came up and was on, dude.
I'm glad you did too.
That was awesome. I
Good
feel-
discussion.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Yeah,
It's
bro.
a pleasure.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
I want to get with you and have you come talk to our group, though.
Love to.
How can people
Ditto.
contact you if they need to contact you?
Yeah, so you go
What
website,
are your sh-
diamondtreerecovery.com. 385-888-9624 is our admissions number if your loved one needs some help. We're just about helping people. So
Yeah.
even if you don't come to our place, if you ask and you have a child who needs treatment or things like that, we can get you to SOAR with these guys. We can get you to tons of programs. We just want you to get well.
Yeah.
Whether it's us or not everybody wants to go to whole food, organic, plant-based program.
And no
That's cool.
smoking. Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
in
gonna
our
have those.
detox, you can smoke. We'll taper. We're not going to cut you off right away. Just but yeah, if you need help, give us a shout out. We'll help you out.
Awesome.
Are you in network with? Who are you in network?
So most of the Medicaids,
Almost.
and then a
okay.
lot of the commercials like Blue Cross and Select Health are right there, but we're not there
Oh,
yet. But we do
nice.
out of network billing with insurance, and then
Right.
I'll make it work for people. I'll make it work.
He does.
Right.
He does. You do a good job of that.
Appreciate that. Pleasure, fellas.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, thanks, man. Thanks for having me on, Don.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for having me on, brother. Pleasure, guys.
Yeah.